All right. Let's try this again now that my memory card actually has space. Welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about a vehicle defense live fire course that I took at Warhorse Tactics out in Wellsboro, PA. The class, the instructor is Paul Taylor, owns the company Warhorse Tactics, and he is a rock star, former Marine Scout sniper, went into the Army afterwards, was a Ranger, full-fledged Ranger, left Ranger bat, went into the SF community, was a Green Beret, where he spent the last 10 years, a little over 10 years, as a Green Beret ODA team leader, and he worked in the SIF as well as contracting when he got out. Guys, a rock star, non-combat deployments. He's seen a lot of stuff, and CQB is his bread and butter. But this guy lives, eats, and breathes training, tactics, getting better, whole 9 yards. And you'll see that if you ever take a class with him. Very, very squared away, very good instructor. Also, really good friend. We have a lot of history going back at least a decade now. Typically, when I take a class, I'll be demonstrating drills with him because we work so well together, and I know a lot of his mannerisms and everything, so we can do drills, and it looks like we've been doing it for years because we have been. But that being said, phenomenal instructor, and in this case, this class was very, very good. So we get there, class starts at 11 o'clock. I tend to get there early because I always try to help him set up and whatnot, and then we'll shoot the shit before we get the class going. But I was there as a student, not as any helpful hand or anything. And 11 o'clock rolls in. We go into the classroom, and then we start with the instructor introduction. We do our introduction as the students. In this case, we had 8 students for this class. And then we go over safety briefing, our medical briefing, should there ever be an accident. And then we go into the course overview. So part of the course overview, we talk some topics. We talk about getting off the X. So once you get involved in an engagement, getting off of that X, we talk about vehicle driving tactics, engaging the threat from inside the vehicle, engaging threats from outside the vehicle, use of your primary and secondary firearms either within or around the vehicle. We do a down vehicle drill, down driver drill, which we talk about those, but we kind of incorporate it together when we actually do everything. Seatbelt theory, which that's something everybody's going to have to contend with unless you just don't wear a seatbelt. The importance of teamwork and how that goes hand in hand with moving and communicating. Once we were done with that classroom section, we went out, got our stuff ready, and then we jumped right into the down driver drill, which goes hand in hand with the down vehicle drill. So in this case, for this drill, we are driving a vehicle. There's a gravel road right by his property that goes along his property. Going down this gravel road, about 15 miles an hour. Some people got up to 20. And then he'll yell out, having sitting in the vehicle, 4 people. So in this case, we're doing a 4-man team as opposed to the 2-man team that we ran the rest of the class. He yells out, driver down. In this case, I was a driver. I go limp. The passenger on the front right passenger will take control of the vehicle, and what his responsibility is, he's going to jam his right foot at the base of the passenger door, and he's going to take his shoulder and shove his shoulder into me and pin me against the door. The reason for this is that when people are incapacitated and then they come back, a lot of times they come back very erratic. They're flailing their arms. They're, what happened, blah, blah, whatever the case is. They come back, very hysterical. By pinning the driver, the incapacitated driver, against the door and maintaining positive pressure, like a lot of positive pressure, if they come back and do that, their prohibited motions will limit any potential liability of you losing control of that vehicle or a potential crash resulting of the hysterics from that individual coming back or regaining consciousness. So you pin that individual against the door, take control, swing your left leg over so you can have control of both the gas and brake pedal. And then, as he yells that out, all this is going to happen, and you're going to steer this vehicle in between cones and drive it to a safe point where you have provided cover by a building. In this scenario, upon putting that vehicle in park, the rear left passenger is going to get out and open that driver door. You, as the passenger in the front right, you're going to push that driver out the door as the rear right passenger is going to grab the driver, pull them out, and get them into the vehicle behind the driver's seat. The rear right passenger is going to get out and immediately pull rear security 180 degrees. So there's your little bit of down vehicle tactics in terms of providing security while you get all this going. Once that driver is in the back, the front right passenger is going to slide over, become the driver. Rear right security is going to move up to the front right passenger. The driver is obviously going to go to the rear left. And then the individual who was in the rear left is going to move to the rear right, doing a counterclockwise rotation, and then you're immediately going to get off the X. Did this a couple times, really fun, super important as a front right passenger, because this is something that can happen at any time in your life, since we operate vehicles on a daily basis, usually multiple times on a daily basis. This is something people do not consider. While the likelihood that you're going to get into some type of gunfight is virtually zero as a civilian, it's not zero. We've seen some issues with the BLM riots, most famously, recently, with attacking vehicles and people having to engage these threats. But more importantly, as humans, we have faults, we have health issues, whole 9 yards. You can be a diabetic and have low blood sugar, pass out. You can have a heart attack or stroke behind the wheel. You can have a seizure. There's a multitude of things that can happen as a driver that can cause you to become incapacitated. And if you are in the vehicle with a passenger, that passenger will have to take control of that vehicle unless something happens, that's outside of their control. It's so fast that they can't react. But this is something that is extremely useful in your day-to-day life. So, very, very useful, has applications that can be applied to your daily life. Once we did that drill, we went back to the firing line and we started with the shooting portion. Going into we did the now drill, which essentially is the instructor is going to have you do a series of drills and loading procedures so that he can assess you. In this case, you're going to make ready your secondary and then make ready your primary. And then once you give the go-ahead that you are ready, he's going to tell you to engage, or whatever the preparatory and action command is. You're going to engage a plate at, 7 yards or so. 10 rounds rifle, transition to pistol, 10 rounds. In this case, I think we were doing 5 and 5. So 5 rounds rifle, transition to pistol, 5 rounds, reload 5 rounds, holster, get the rifle back up, reload 5 rounds, and engage. And this allows him to assess you as a shooter, what your level is, your competency, how safe you are with weapons manipulations, so on and so forth. Go down the line. There were some guys that needed to be brought up to speed, so we did some ready up and then react to contact drills to get these guys brought up to speed where they can conduct these future drills with the vehicle in a safe manner. Once we completed that, we moved to a react to contact from a vehicle practice portion where we set up a table with 2 seats, being that we're going to be working in 2-man teams, being paired up in people and teams that you're on a similar skill level. Sit behind his table, you mimic driver, mimic passenger. He'll yell out, you know, engage or whatever the preparatory command was, or the action command was. And then you would engage. If you're the driver, you would engage, maintaining a sustained rate of fire for suppressive purposes, while the passenger, after engaging in his mad minute, we had to incorporate a reload into this. After the mad minute and reload, the passenger would get out, move his way back to a barrel, replicating a potential trunk with your rifle in there. He would get up, get his rifle up, and start engaging with a sustained rate of fire for suppressive purposes. You, as the driver, would get out to your rifle, conduct the same thing, and then from there you would bound to a point of cover, leaving the vehicle because the vehicles are bullet magnets, and then you would cease the drill. Did this a couple times. Some of the guys that needed that little bit of extra work will continue to do these drills a little bit more just to get them up to speed. Once they were up to speed, we went right into the vehicle defense live fire portion, starting with head-on engagements. We'd get into a vehicle, drive through a section that that was designated. He would yell out contact. We would get in, we would stop the vehicle, immediately engage the threat through the windshield. So you're shooting through the windshield from within the vehicle. You start to, learn about how bullets react passing through the windshield. So windshields are laminated, two pieces of glass with plexiglass in the middle, pressed together and sealed. This is done so that in the case of an accident, it doesn't completely shatter and aids in reducing injury to the driver and passenger in the front. The other thing is, because it's laminated, bullets do weird things passing. So if you're shooting from outside, from within the vehicle outside, because of the angle of the glass, as the bullet goes through, it skips and deflects upwards, at least for the first round or two, until you punch that hole, and then you maintain that and keep punching through the hole. Your first round or two is most likely going to go over the top, just over the target, and then after you establish that hole and start shooting, you're going to get rounds right where you want it, because now you're shooting through that hole. Again, going through the movement portion of it, you're maintaining as a driver. You're going to pop the trunk, maintain a sustained rate of fire. Passenger's going to get out in a safe manner. He's going to pop the seatbelt. You can either fish everything through the seatbelt beforehand, so when you draw, you're already outside of that seatbelt, or you can, when you manipulate over and under in a way that you're not going to be flagging yourself. But when you exit the vehicle, you're going to be at temple index. I do not like temple index at all, but it makes sense in a vehicle because now it's in a safe direction at all times. Obviously, trigger discipline, keeping that firearm like so. So trigger discipline right here. And I do this thing where I put my thumb like this, and that comes from me when I used to box, put my thumb against the back of my jaw, and that gives me an index point. I can keep the pistol here. It's safe. Even if for any reason, I do something stupid and send that round off, I'm not in any danger of being shot in the head by myself. So I keep my pistol indexed right here, temple index, when I exit the vehicle. Now, in a real world scenario, you would go to your sole position or your compressed ready. But in this case, because we had other guys that were watching and being ROs, you stay temple index till you get back to the trunk. Then you would holster and then grab your rifle, get it ready, and then start laying down suppressive fire so that the driver can get out and do the same thing. Once that's done, you guys will find the nearest cover and bound to that nearest cover, establishing a sustained rate of fire until that drill was conducted and ended. We did this a couple times driving forward, and then we did a couple drills coming from a side and engaging a target from the side. In this case, only doing it out the passenger side. So in this case, the passenger, upon hearing contact right, in this case, the passenger is going to engage through the passenger window on that target with a mad minute, quick reload, and then maintain a rate of fire while the driver pops the trunk, gets out. Now he can do one of two things. He can either get out and establish cover so that you can get out, but he might be undergunned because he'll just have the pistol. So you're undergunned in terms of power and lethality, but you're also undergunned in terms of capacity with the pistol. So he can do that while you get out, and then get back to the trunk, get your rifle up, and then he can come back, get his rifle up, and then you can bound to cover. Or in the case of what we did was I would establish cover from within the vehicle with the mad minute, mag change, and then sustained rate of fire, while my driver would get out, get back to the vehicle, to the back of the vehicle, pull his rifle out the trunk, get it up, and then immediately start laying down suppressive fire so that I can get out of from the passenger side out the driver's side, because you never want to exit on the side the threat is when it's a side engagement. Slide out, and then you can go back, get your rifle, take up a fighting position by the car, or move to the nearest cover and establish a position where you can lay down suppressive fire, and then your partner can go ahead and bound, and you bound all the way out to cover or to a safe area. Did this a couple times. Tons of fun. The tactical side of it, like the actual tactics side, the emphasis was on the tactics, so there wasn't a high round count. You weren't going through mag changes or anything like that, except for the mad minute. And that is your immediate, overwhelming suppressive fire for your engagement to get those threats to put their heads down. And then you can maintain a sustained rate of fire while the other individual can exit the vehicle to his primary fighting platform and go from there. Now, I didn't cover what I used in the class, so I'll do that right now. So I just had my battle belt, which brought up some issues that I have to consider when dealing with my battle belt. But this is my rifle that I fought with, or that I trained with, not fought, but got a rifle. It's an AR pistol, 12.5 build. I've been running this for years, gone through many iterations of how it looks. But one thing I've been testing is this Dead Air Lazarus 6 suppressor. It's their flow-through suppressor. Flow-through is a trademarked name, so it's ultra low back pressure. But if you look at the front, it's got vents. If it wants to, there you go. It's got a bunch of vents to push those gases forward. So I've been running this since the end of January. Super awesome can. Wasn't the biggest fan of low back pressure cans because they tend to be louder and they spark quite a bit. But as the technology has progressed, they've made tons of strides, and this can has changed my opinion of low back pressure cans or flow through type designs. I also was running this guy here, which is the Romeo 4XT Pro by Sig Sauer. Got this about a little over a month ago. I've been running the hell out of it. I've got almost 1,000 rounds, actually probably over 1,000 rounds now with the class, as well as having a class under its belt. And I really, really like this optic. Both a review for the Lazarus 6 and the red dot is coming, probably the red dot first. But I ran that 12.5 as my primary, and my trusty M&P 2.0 as my secondary. I've had this gun since 2017. I got it the week that it released. At this point, I think I have about 12,000 rounds or more on this. I don't really keep track of it, but I know I have it probably probably 12,000 rounds on this pistol by this point. Never had a problem with it. It is a rock star, and I really like the M&P series, the 2.0 primarily, and they work. So, anyway, getting back to the class. Once we did that, that concluded the class. Obviously, moving, we tried to take a picture, but some guys had to go for time reasons. So the rest of us took some pictures. We moved into the classroom, did our little debrief, AAR, things that could have been done better, things that were done really well, so on and so forth. Overall, it was received very positively, minus maybe getting more vetted people to take the class. The problem with that is when you limit who can come to the class as a smaller schoolhouse, you severely limit or hinder the ability for that class to actually be taken. Also raising the price of the class because only so many people are going to be able to take it. So unless you're a big company like Sig Sauer or Viking Tactics or any of these big schools that are super well known, it's hard to have a vetting process or a standard saying that you can't take this unless you've done X, Y, and Z courses, and you have to prove that you've taken those courses to be eligible to sign up for this class. When you do that, you limit your potential pool of people that want to take the class. Hence why he does it the way he does it, Paul being the instructor and owner. He does it where he opens it to pretty much everybody, and then he'll assess you at the class, and how that class is conducted is going to be based on the weakest link, essentially, for lack of a better term. But he's going to get that person brought up to speed with a cross the board baseline of safety and competency so that these drills can be conducted. But he does a lot of private classes. So if you want, 4 or 6 of your buddies to get together and take this course, you can do that. You can call, reach out to him and say, hey, I have 6 guys. We all want to do a vehicle tactics class, tactics class. He will make it happen for you. That being said, all of his stuff can be found on Facebook. That's where he does a lot of his promoting right now because he's still a smaller company, but he's growing. You can find him on Facebook at Warhorse Tactics. He does have a website, which I can't remember if it's warhorsetactics.net or whatever, but I'll annotate the video for you. That'll all be down in the description below as well. You can go check out his courses. You can sign up. You can do private courses. If you're in Maryland, he literally lives on the border of Maryland and Pennsylvania. So if you want to take your Maryland wear and carry course, he does those classes, and he pushes the shooting aspect over the classroom tactic. He does what's required of him, but obviously the shooting and being competent in shooting so that you can pass, you're going to do a lot of shooting in that course as opposed to some other classes. But all in all, he's a great instructor, super well vetted. I've seen him take guys that had almost no experience whatsoever, and by the end of a class, we were doing full-on 2-man or 4-man team tactics, looking like rock stars, and it's just his ability to teach. In terms of this class was very, very good. It brought a lot of things to light, things to think about. Not a super high round count, which is fine because I focus more on the fundamental aspects and refining those fundamentals. I don't need 2,000 rounds of shooting to establish bad fundamentals. I can do a couple hundred rounds of shooting with good, meaningful repetitions to establish a solid foundation. So, and that's what he does. This allows him to keep classes relatively affordable so that just about anybody can take these classes because it's tough right now in today's economy. Ammo's still relatively expensive. Courses, you take this class at any other schoolhouse that's willing to do it, you're probably going close to $1,000, if not more, for this class. So, and his are reasonable. I think right now he has one posted for April, the end of April, and it's going for $300 right now. So it's a steal. And again, you're doing a vehicle tactics class that implements actually driving the vehicle, not just having a vehicle stage to get in and get out. It's an actual moving operating vehicle. So, highly recommend it. Highly recommend him as an instructor and that schoolhouse. He'll go out and he'll travel and put on courses for local PD and stuff like that. So he's not afraid to travel or do private classes. So if you're interested, definitely reach out. Great guy. And let me know what you think about this video, about the the potential of doing a vehicle tactics class if you've never done one. If you have, what do you think about my assessment of this? And then, yeah, let's have that conversation down below. I like having a conversation with you guys. And, yeah, check them out, Warhorse Tactics. And I will catch you in the next video. Remember, the Lazarus 6 video will be coming soon. And the Romeo 4XT Pro is most likely going to be coming next weekend. So stay tuned for those, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks.